If you ask someone to point out the distance between the United States and Russia, they will likely imagine a vast, thousands-of-mile expanse across the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. That mental map is a cartographic lie. Standard map projections, which are heavily European-centric, physically push the United States and Russia to the far opposite edges of the visual frame. This creates a psychological barrier, tricking us into seeing two superpowers separated by entire continents. When you look at the globe from the top down, that barrier vanishes. At the Bering Strait, the mainland of the United States and the mainland of Russia are separated by a gap of exactly 55 miles. And sitting right in the center of that narrow choke point are the Diomede Islands. Big Diomede is Russian territory. Little Diomede is American territory. The stretch of water separating them is a mere 2.5 miles wide. From January through June, the waters between them freeze over into solid sea ice, making it physically possible to walk from the United States into Russia. The international dateline runs directly through this 2.5-mile channel. Because of this, if you stand on the American shore of Little Diomede and look across the ice at Russia, you're staring 21 hours into the future. The two greatest nuclear rivals on Earth are actually next-door neighbors, separated by a brief walk and a single day. For over a century, Alaska was a Russian colony. Siberian merchants and fur trappers had crossed the strait in the 1700s, establishing Orthodox churches and remote timber settlements like Sitka to expand their footprint in North America. By the 1850s, a catastrophic defeat by British and French forces in the Crimean War had bankrupted the empire. Tsar Alexander II realized his remote Alaskan colony was entirely undefended and feared British forces operating out of neighboring Canada could conquer it with ease. To block British expansion and raise immediate capital, the Tsar offered the territory to the United States. Following an all-night negotiation in March 1867, Secretary of State William Seward signed this exact Treasury warrant. The final price was $7.2 million. For a territory spanning 586,412 square miles, the United States acquired a landmass more than twice the size of Texas at a cost of roughly 2 cents an acre. The American public and press despised the deal. Newspaper editors mocked the acquisition as Seward's Folly, publishing cartoons that criticized the government for wasting taxpayer money on a useless frozen polar bear garden. The acquisition the American public dismissed as a financial error placed the United States directly on the doorstep of its greatest future rival. When the Soviet Union and the United States emerged from World War II as global adversaries, Alaska shed its reputation as a forgotten icebox. It became the ultimate geographic frontline. While the Iron Curtain divided Europe through fortified walls and razor wire, a literal ice curtain dropped over the Bering Strait. The claustrophobia of this standoff was sharpest on the Diomede Islands. American soldiers stationed on these barren rocks stood looking directly across 2.5 miles of water at a hostile Soviet military base. Rival troops were positioned well within eyesight of one another. The real estate contract signed by Seward in 1867 set the stage for the most intimate standoff of the 20th century. Pulling back from those islands today, the Pentagon treats this once remote territory as a primary military stronghold. Because the Earth is a sphere, the shortest distance between missile silos in Asia and targets in North America is straight over the North Pole. Cross-polar flight paths dramatically reduce the travel time for intercontinental ballistic missiles and strategic bombers. Defending that vulnerability requires a massive physical footprint. The United States relies on advanced radar networks at the Clear Space Force Station to scan the horizon and deploys next-generation F-35 fighter squadrons to constantly patrol the airspace. The value of this territory has shifted from military defense to economic competition. As Arctic sea ice recedes, shipping routes are breaking through the freeze. This geographic positioning is exactly why Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport is now one of the most heavily trafficked cargo hubs on the planet. Flights between Asia and North America route through here because it provides the most mathematically efficient path. Recognizing this, China and Russia are actively investing in the Polar Silk Road. It is a trade corridor designed to bypass traditional shipping choke points like the Suez and Panama canals by utilizing these newly opened northern routes. Dominance over this 55-mile frozen gap carries influence over the military posture and the primary trade corridors connecting the world's most powerful economies.